Welcome to the Hired Not Fired podcast, brought to you by The Real Me, the soft skills first talent solution that helps employers hire entry-level employees with better developed soft skills, such as communication, problem solving, or emotional intelligence. Join us as we sit down with hiring managers, talent leaders, and others and get insider tips to help Gen Z stand out and get hired. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Hired Not Fired. This is part 2 of the interview with Ann Darda of Elevated Organizations, an HR advisory and consultancy firm. Ann has 30 plus years experience leading HR and talent acquisition initiatives across multiple industries, and she is sharing rich insight for all of you. Today, we're going to dig into a little bit about how can a new grad stand out to get hired? Welcome back, Ann.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
And let me just dive right in. All right. When you were at Omega Therapeutics, Novartis, or Pfizer, I bet you got lots of applicants for any entry-level position. Are we talking thousands?
Could be. It could be. I think, and the programs have gotten better and better in terms of sorting out the applicants that are most appropriate for the jobs. But yes, at least hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah. Well, that's my question. How do you sort through that number of applicants? How can our listeners, if they want to get into biotech or big pharma, what can they do to make their application stand out when most new grads have similar resumes? They went to school, they had summer jobs and maybe an internship or two, right?
Yeah, a couple of things. I would say anytime a person can network, the better it is. So yes, apply online through LinkedIn or whatever avenue you're seeking in terms of the jobs. But the savvy way to do that is, let's say you see a job you like at Vertex, for example. The best thing to do then is to go into LinkedIn and see if you know anyone, or if anyone you know knows anyone, even if they're a second phase or third phase connection that actually works at Vertex. And if you can, try to meet and speak with that person, talk to them, get an informational interview. What's it like to work there? And ask if they'll refer you. Referrals are king. And the more you can do that, the better. Mm-hmm. So the person who is going to send off 50 resumes to jobs that they see versus the person who's going to send off 5 resumes through their network of companies they see, they're going to have different results. So that's one thing I would say. The other thing I would say is in your resume, even if you have very little experience, think about action steps and the results of actions that you can utilize. There's a lot about resume writing. You can YouTube it or Google it, but the formula is to talk about results from the actions. Mm-hmm. That'll be important. I would also say informational interviews are highly educational. People enjoy talking about their career. They enjoy talking about their experience. And the more you can meet face-to-face, the better. Mm-hmm. If you can't meet face-to-face, if someone's willing to give you a video discussion, that's the second choice. And third is the telephone. Mm-hmm. So I think people under-index on relationship building. So the more relationships you can build, regardless of it leads immediately to a job or not, but checking in with those folks from time to time and trying to also add something to that person's time if you can. So you could share a perspective about what you're seeing with early stage colleagues. You could share an article you just read. So that's something I would say. And then when you get closer to actually interviewing, so let's say the next phase, someone calls you in to interview, it's essential to do basic homework before you get there. And it's very easy to do, right? You go online and you research the company a little bit. You see their stage, you understand what they do, you research the people you'll be meeting with so that you're not going in cold. You actually have spent a little time doing homework. That is a big differentiator. People who show up who haven't done their homework, it's really obvious. And so it's sort of like you want to work here, but you haven't done any research. how much are you going to actually do on the job? Are you going to do the bare minimum, or are you going to be creative and do whatever it takes to solve a problem?
Yeah.
And then I would say the last kind of, these are basic hygiene things, but you'd be surprised how many people miss them. Thank you notes are very important. Very important. I have known hiring managers who will not see someone even if they thought they were amazing and they didn't write a thank you note. Yeah, even if they thought they were really good for the job, they could be offended and just not do it. And I think that could be a generational difference because of technology, because of the different ways. But I would say it's important.
Is an email thank you note enough?
I think so.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It doesn't have to be a handwritten card unless the person did something really way, way beyond what's typical. But an authentic, gracious email thank you. And again, you want to put a pitch in there about what you can add to the company. That's another thing that I think a lot of new grads miss is, why should the company hire them? So even if they don't have very much experience, someone who is like, listen, I'm smart and I'm motivated and I'm hungry and I'll work hard and I'll learn, that goes far. And what I have seen and what we've seen a trend in the criticism, kind of the generational criticism sometimes is this perception that folks walk in and say, well, what are you going to do for me? What are your benefits? What are you going to offer me? And, jobs at any level are heavily contingent on the market. And we are in a softer job market right now, which means you usually, as a job hunter, have to do 3x the effort to get an opportunity. So it becomes even more important. And I remember when I was first starting out, that question was put to me, what are you going to offer the company? And I thought internally, I fell off the turnip truck last week. I don't know what I have to offer. And I think if I had to go back and do that again, I would say I'm a hard worker and I'm eager to learn.
Reminds me of the JFK quote, ask not what you can do for your country. Ask not what your country can do for you.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
That's great advice. I want to backtrack. I do have another question about the interview, but I want to backtrack to the resume stage again. So we know that having referral is really valuable, networking really valuable, but at the end of the day, you still have hundreds of paper resumes, and not everyone came with a referral. Not everyone had someone to network. You have this massive pile of papers. How do you decide who to choose, who to call in for the interview?
Well, it's what lines up the best with the job description. So that if the job description is looking for a specific education level, which they usually are, and it's usually a comparison of education and experience. So that's number one. They have to meet the requirements. And then for every job, there's a list of competencies that the company's looking for. It could be collaboration. It could be technical knowledge. It could be negotiation skills. Then they'll look for evidence in the bullet points when people are describing their experience that show those things. So first it's the education and years of experience. Then it's the competencies and how close does their experience describe those particular competencies. That's where you hear resume writers, and if you look around online, a lot of people talk about key search words, but you got to be able to back those things up. So if you use a key search word like negotiation, strong negotiation skills, or strong collaboration, you got to be able to back up those things. But people often make sure they have a few of the key. It's always a good idea when you're writing your resume to look at your ideal job and then compare your experience to that job. And obviously you want something within reason. You don't want to start out right out of college and say, I want to be a CEO. It's just too big of a gap to try and fill.
Right.
So you want to pick something reasonable, but then tailor your resume to that particular area. And if you're looking at multiple different areas, because you don't know yet,
Right.
then have multiple resumes.